Now that we've seen some preseason action in 2024, not only is it just a super exciting time, but we also have some snap percentages. We've got a better idea of who's playing where and how often they're going to be on the field as starters running routes at the tight end position. That's why we're going through the updated top 24 tight end rankings for 2024 fantasy football. And I'm giving away 5 FFN hats this week to someone who goes down there, drops a like on the video, is subscribed to the channel, and gives me their hottest take for 2024 fantasy football. So please go down there and drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop your hottest take for 2024. So this first tier of guys right here, I like all of them, but it really is in this clear order for me. Sam Laporta, Travis Kelce, and Mark Andrews. So here's one thing that I've seen quite a bit already in fantasy football drafts, especially on ESPN particularly. When I'm doing an ESPN redraft league, which is a half PPR or a full PPR format 12-team league, I'm seeing Travis Kelce still going over Sam Laporta. Now, I'll be honest with you, I really don't get this one. I understand it to the point where it's like Travis Kelce has a name recognition. Obviously, he's a Hall of Fame tight end. He plays with the best quarterback in football on one of the best offenses, if not the very best in all of football. Here's the problem with Sam Laporta going behind him, though. Sam Laporta just coming off an elite rookie season at the tight end position. One of the best rookie seasons we've ever seen from a tight end in fantasy football. And he himself is coming into either the best or the second best offense for fantasy football production. So I will much rather take the younger guy on the ascending train rather than the older guy, who, yes, is Hall of Fame, but we do not see older guys in their mid-30s all of a sudden just have a better season than the last season when they started to decline, which Kelce started to do. So you can look at this and say Travis Kelce should not be ahead of Sam Laporta in drafts. You could also look at it and say it's your draft position in fantasy football this year. Sam Laporta is a better pick because he should be going ahead of Travis Kelce, and that's why I've got him and Kelce at 1 and 2. Now with Mark Andrews at number 3, I think the importance is still there, and that's really what matters to this Baltimore offense is getting him the ball. Him and Lamar Jackson just have so much chemistry, and Lamar really just, regardless of what offensive coordinator's been there, whether it was Greg Roman or who they have now, it doesn't make a difference in who he really trusts the most on this offense, and that's Mark Andrews. So yes, Mark Andrews has dealt with injuries. He's getting closer to 30. He's not 30 yet, but he's definitely getting closer to that age where it's like combining that with the injuries, maybe it's not a great thing this year, but as far as I can tell, when he was on the field last year and when he was healthy, he was still the primary target for Lamar Jackson. That's why I like Mark Andrews again. Now, this next tier right here, I've got Trey McBride, Dalton Kincaid, and George Kittle. So with Trey McBride right here, I really strongly kind of consider putting him with Mark Andrews. I just trust Mark Andrews a little more, but that doesn't mean that Trey McBride isn't in line for an elite fantasy season. I still think he could be a top 3 tight end in fantasy easily. Obviously, he's going to have Marvin Harrison Jr. there to take away that wide receiver 1 duty. That can be viewed as a positive or a negative. I think it's a positive here because he's taking pressure off of Trey McBride, who, without Marvin Harrison Jr., was easily the number 1 target in this offense. He came out of basically nowhere last year and started playing elite football. And it was an elite option in the back half of the season of fantasy football last year. So just giving him a full year in his 3rd season with a full season of Kyler Murray, it just makes sense to have another ascending type of season. Now with Dalton Kincaid and George Kittle, I'll be honest with you guys, I think you can organize these two however you want to. If you prefer George Kittle over Dalton Kincaid, knock yourself out. The reason I prefer Dalton Kincaid over George Kittle is because of the age again. I think that when you look at both offenses here, Buffalo's is very, very pass heavy, and San Francisco's is more run centric. Now, the 2 issues that I have here, and really why you could interchange these two, number 1, with George Kittle, we obviously know he's in line for like 2 30-35 point games. He will explode at some point. Don't know when it will be. That's how San Francisco's offense runs, though. They have one of their elite playmakers go off, and then they won't do as great for the next couple weeks, and then they'll do it again. And then the other reason, and I rag on this a lot with Dalton Kincaid, and this is really why I've had my doubts about him, Dalton Kincaid has a $50 million whale with Dawson Knox in that tight end room. $50 million tight end. You just can't ignore that. And that's the reason why I don't believe that he's going to automatically see 100% of the passing down work at the tight end position for the Buffalo Bills. Dawson Knox will still be involved, but with 1st round draft capital and as good as he was last year when they finally let him start playing, I don't see how they put him back on the bench. Like, you can't close that can of worms back up. So I think Dalton Kincaid is the clear guy. I think he's the more explosive guy at this point of his career. But again, rank these two however you want to. Now at 7 and 8, the next tier, Evan Ingram and Jake Ferguson. Look, when I look at both of these two guys right here, they're both going to be massive target hogs at the tight end position. Evan Ingram was a target hog last year, and if he had just gotten like 3 or 4 more touchdowns, he would have been in contention seriously to be the tight end 1 last year. I mean, that's how close Evan Ingram was, just based on targets alone. He went a long time without getting a touchdown. That's unpredictable. I would bet maybe he'll have a better season with touchdowns this year, now that they've got some more weapons to open up that deep level of the field, like Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr. So Evan Ingram, we know the targets will be there, and there should be more balance on this offense just with 2 more deep threats that they did not have last year. And with Jake Ferguson, I love Jake Ferguson this year. I mean, I made a video about a month back discussing some of the biggest key factors to find when looking for a breakout tight end in fantasy football. A league-winning tight end had a couple very unique features that Jake Ferguson fit to a freaking T. Jake Ferguson walks into this year as really the second best weapon in this offense. I'm not just talking wide receivers options. I'm talking the best weapon. CeeDee Lamb, and then who else are you going to put? Is it Jalen Tolbert? Probably not. Is it Brandon Cooks? Probably not. Is it an aging Zeke or Rico Dowdle unproven? Probably not. Jake Ferguson came in last year and had over 600 yards receiving at the tight end position. So he had a really good season last year, was top 10 in fantasy football. He had actually over 750 receiving yards last year. So with Jake Ferguson, we know that Dak Prescott loves a good tight end. And we also know that Jake Ferguson is going to be the second best weapon in this entire offense. And that's exactly why when I look at his line on Underdog right now, at 675.5 receiving yards, this may be my favorite tight end line of 2024. This is a smash higher for me. This dude already surpassed 750 yards last year, and he's not losing importance in this offense. So if you have as much faith as I do in this, go to Underdog, use the link in the description to sign up using code FFN, and when you deposit $10, they will throw $250 of free bonus cash right at your face. They will throw free money at you because if you have more confidence in Jake Ferguson, put more on that line. Or if you just want to get in some more best ball tournaments, some best ball drafts, that's great too. They're throwing free money at you, so you might as well take advantage of it. Now, this next tier right here is, we're starting to get a little bit messier. Kyle Pitts, David Njoku, Dallas Goedert, and Brock Bowers here. So with Kyle Pitts, this is his last stand. I mean, there's really just no ifs, ands, or buts about this one. Either Kyle Pitts puts up or shuts up this year. Favorite tight end prospect we've seen probably ever, in my opinion, and just hasn't done much to show for it since his rookie season. So with Kirk Cousins, we're assuming that he has the best season of his career. I will believe it when I see it. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with Kyle Pitts. I get it. The quarterback play has been bad, but I'm just not trusting him over those other options right here. Although I will acknowledge definitely some high ceiling play for Kyle Pitts this year. And with David Njoku here, David Njoku just on the surface level, very solid situation. Obviously was extremely important last year, but when you dig a little deeper, it's like with Deshaun Watson, how good is he really going to be? He performed really well with Joe Flacco. He performed okay with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. How good is he really going to be with a full season of Deshaun Watson? I have questions about that. So he's down here at 10. Again, kind of in that Kyle Pitts range for me, where it's like kind of a lower floor this year, I think, but definitely some higher upside to be like a top 5, top 6 tight end. Now, with Dallas Goedert, this is a guy that I really can't trust entirely. I want to trust Dallas Goedert. Like, it makes so much sense to draft him on Underdog, to draft him on ESPN, based on his ADP right now currently. But I also look at the situation and I say to myself, not getting any younger. This guy was also an underperformer last year when he actually played. And by the way, not exactly the healthiest guy over the past several years. So is it just, have we hit our limit with Dallas Goedert? It's possible. And again, kind of just a higher upside guy, but just really have some questions about the floor. And to round out this tier, Brock Bowers in this situation, He definitely scares me. I've seen a lot of people telling me that they're going to rely on Brock Bowers as their tight end one. My advice to you, don't do it. The reason why you should not do this is because Sam Laporta last year was the exception, not the rule, when it comes to rookie tight ends. Rookie tight ends are usually not that good. Now, Brock Bowers putting up top 12 production, I think he will. But Brock Bowers is not in a great offense at all, not with a great quarterback, and the history of rookie tight ends is not favorable. So grab Brock Bowers at your own peril, in my opinion. I have grabbed I think I have 2 shares of him on Underdog. Probably won't be much more because I just don't really like the price here for Brock Bowers, but I do think that he has probably top 12 upside in that range. Now, starting out this next tier, here's where we get really messy. I think there's a lot of ways you could go, and we'll have some disagreements, and I'm looking forward to it in the comments section. Luke Musgrave and Cole Kmet are at 13 and 14. So with Luke Musgrave, in my opinion, we're at the range, like I said, where we can have a lot of discussions here. What I'm trying to shoot for in this range, since I am not confident in anybody in this tier, is I'm trying to shoot for who has the most upside based on offense here. With Luke Musgrave, there's tons of upside in that Green Bay offense. Now, there's obviously Tucker Kraft there, who played really well last year, but Luke Musgrave also played pretty well as well. So with Luke Musgrave, he's had more time this offseason with the starting group since Tucker Kraft tore his pec earlier in the offseason. So I just kind of think maybe he pulled away this summer and he's the clear tight end one. With this offense in Green Bay, there's just so much upside. There's so many passing options to go around, but it doesn't scare me off a guy like Luke Musgrave because there's not really an alpha in that wide receiver room. So there's going to be games where I think Luke Musgrave could have really good weeks. And then Cole Kmet here, I want to rank him higher, but I mean, let's face it. Cole Kmet, similar to a Dawson Knox where he's a $50 million tight end, but he's got 3 really good wide receivers in that room. Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Rome Odunze. So how much does this ball get spread towards Cole Kmet? I don't think it's as stable as it was with Justin Fields. So I worry about Cole Kmet this year for sure. But again, in this offense that projects to be very pass heavy, he definitely does have upside in this mid-range right here. Now, Tyler Conklin at 15 is just kind of in that situation where I think I have him ranked a lot higher than a lot of people because of Aaron Rodgers and his affinity for tight ends over the years. And Tyler Conklin last year, I mean, look at on the screen, on a per-game basis, he was not a bad player at all. Tyler Conklin was the tight end 20, but this is a guy who got 87 targets last year at the tight end position. So with the full season of healthy Aaron Rodgers, it's not like they added some elite wide receiver to this group. They've got Garrett Wilson, a question mark with Mike Williams. Maybe Allen Lazard has a better year. But Aaron Rodgers likes a good tight end as well. Similar to Dak Prescott, he's always used a tight end. So I like Tyler Conklin a little bit this year more than others do. Now with TJ Hawkinson here, I think he has the potential to finish as a top 16 tight end when he comes back. When is he coming back? The problem is we don't know. And this is the exact reason I would say if you're in a redraft league and you're looking at TJ Hawkinson, my advice is do not draft him. Do not draft him and just clog up a roster spot for the first 4 weeks at the very least. I don't think he's coming back within the first 4 weeks. So I would say probably mid-season is where we're going to see TJ Hawkinson at. And I think with mid-season, he's still such a good player for them that I do think he has this potential. But I want to be clear right now, do not draft TJ Hawkinson in an ESPN redraft league or a sleeper or a Yahoo redraft league. Draft him in a best ball league if you want to. He's got a good price on there. But on an ESPN redraft league, leave him on the board for somebody else. Now, at 17 with Pat Freiermuth, I think a lot of people like him more than me. I'm a Steelers fan, have been for my entire life. Fantasy football analysis comes first for me. He's had 4 concussions throughout his career. And this is not a good offense. At all. At all. So, I don't see this upside with Pat Freiermuth. I get it on the surface level again where it's no target competition really. So, is it good for him? Is it bad for him? Probably good for him. But at the same time, I really just don't think we're looking at a very good player here with Pat Freiermuth. With that being said, we're getting down to that range where just based on opportunity alone, he's got to be at 17. Now, this next tier of guys here, I actually like some of the upside here. Dalton Schultz and Hunter Henry are my 18 and 19 here. starting out this tier right here. So with Dalton Schultz, again, would be higher, similar to a Cole Kmet situation though, where there's just really elite wide receivers that are going to be, in my opinion, taking up an extremely high percentage of the total offensive yards. I just don't think that Dalton Schultz has a contract that would warrant any kind of real target competition for those guys. And he's not in an age where he's improving again. And really last year, like, he wasn't super important for them. He had some good games at first, but he really cratered during that back half of the season when Tank Dell really started to hit his stride. So I just don't really see it this year for Schultz. Although, again, offensive upside would indicate he needs to be inside the top 20. And then with Hunter Henry, nothing to do with offensive upside. I just look at Hunter Henry and I'm like, this is a guy they clearly like in New England. He had really good weeks last year, especially at the beginning of the year. Is a red zone threat. So I just think that with very little target competition and being that he is a red zone threat, he'll have some potential to give you 15, 20-point weeks, especially at the front end of the season, similar to what he did last year. And then at 20 and 21, Isaiah Likely and Zach Ertz here. Now, with Isaiah Likely, this is a guy, obviously, I think most people who played fantasy football last year appreciated Isaiah Likely, especially in the later weeks without Mark Andrews. Isaiah Likely, when he steps in for Baltimore, he's always good. Like, he's been like that for the past several years of his career. So, we're just at this position with Likely where it's like, they just need to start utilizing two tight end sets. And they've been saying that for years at Baltimore. The good thing is, I think it's different this year. They've been saying it a bunch this offseason again, and Isaiah Likely came out and said, they're kind of using me in a lot of places in camp this year. So, I have more hope for Isaiah Likely this year. I really like the player a lot. And if he ends up doing really well in a two tight end set, this is a guy who could actually, in my opinion, be like a top 12 to top 15 tight end. Now, with Zach Ertz here, really, I wanted to say Ben Sinnott, the rookie. I really did, but Ben Sinnott just does not look like the starter right now. Now, he had a good preseason game, looked pretty good in the game. He had a really, massive highlight play. But as far as we can tell right now, Zach Ertz looks like he's going to be that guy. And I actually kind of think Jaden Daniels is going to do pretty well this year. So, in this offense, where I see more upside offensively, Zach Ertz, if he is the starter full-time, I think he has upside in fantasy football, but of course not that much because, again, much like Kelsey, just in the later years of his career, and I don't think we can expect anything huge from him. Now, this last tier here, I've got Dawson Knox, Noah Fant, and Chig Okonkwo. So with Dawson Knox, like I said earlier, I think he's going to be involved. $50 million is just too much to pay for a blocking tight end. Nobody does that in the league. So they're going to find ways to use Dawson Knox. Guarantee it, take it to the bank. You do not spend $50 million and just put him on the sidelines. Or put him in blocking situations 100% of the time. They will not do that. They will have him involved at some point, and without a clear, really wide receiver one or a bunch of kind of guys at wide receiver two, there could be a chance that this is similar to a Baltimore offense where it's like we may see some two tight end sets heavily utilized in Buffalo, which could lead Dawson Knox some decent games, but I don't think we should expect anything big. With Noah Fant in Seattle, clear tight end one, no competition, just really don't like the offensive situation with the quarterback. Geno Smith has already missed time this training camp. Don't love him as a player anyways. And Noah Fant really just hasn't done much for Seattle. And since they're kind of moving towards that 3 wide receiver set with Jackson Smith-Njigba now, I don't think there's as many opportunities for Noah Fant. Although, again, tight end one in the offense belongs inside the top 24. Chig Okonkwo in Tennessee, tight end one very clearly. Last year would not indicate that he's going to be an elite option for them. I will say the one thing about this year, though, Tennessee, I've said it all offseason. New offensive coach, fired Mike Vrabel to get an offensive culture. Coming into the season with Will Levis, who's got a big arm, lots of talent, very raw. This offense has a wide variation range of what could happen. They'll either be pretty good, I think, or really bad. So with Chig Okonkwo, I'm putting him safely here at 24 with upside to move up in the future. So let me know what you think of the rankings in the comments below. And if you want to see the top 25 overall players for 2024, click on this video right here.